Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so yeah, man, I just want to tell people that sometimes things happen in the world that are real tough, man, to witness, especially in this world of footage and things of that nature. And although we talk about, obviously the genocide in Gaza, it was something else that I saw that was very disturbing. That's going around virally right now. It's a lady in Mexico who was influencer. I guess she had like 100,000 people following her at and she lost her life on camera. I don't know what the circumstances were. There's a lot of discrepancies around the conversation about what happened to her, but she was only 23 years of age, man. And I guess someone came by on a motorbike and had dropped off a package for her of some sort, and then proceeded to open fire on her while the camera was facing her. You see it, everything. And I was really disturbed, and to a point I thought I was a little surprised with myself for the fact that I've seen so much of what I've seen in regards to that genocide, and so much footage of what's going on with those folks over there. And keep in mind, 300 people lost last night in that situation. 300. It's always necessary to mention that. I want everybody to know what's going on there. But with all that I've seen in that way, I was surprised that death still bothered me like that, to be honest with you. But I think it just was about how it went down, how close the footage was of her face when she was shot. It just became a situation where it's like, yo, you know that this is a young person, had a life ahead of her, healthy, and somebody came by and took her life. I don't know what she was involved in, that type of thing. You would think it's a hit, you know what I mean? These type of situations happen a lot when you're involved with the wrong people, especially down there. I don't know. I'm not knowledgeable. But what I do know is she spoke something. She said, man, somebody dropped me off a package right before it happened. She said something along the lines of, what if they're here to kill me? And sure enough, they were. That was the irony of it. I don't know if this is one of those cautionary tales of be careful what you speak, but it does kind of align in that way, to be honest with you. Whatever the case may be, I just found myself very sad about that. And very bothered by it, bothered by that. A lot of noise on Hollywood Boulevard as usual, y'all, but I was really bothered by that, man. I watched that footage probably too much. It's one of those situations where you see something, you can't turn away, you just keep looking at it over and over again. That's not good for the spirit. It's not good for the mind, unless you're wired for that type of thing, for which I don't believe I am. And so I want to send condolences to her and her family, everybody that was affected by that, everybody who saw that was traumatized. I share that with you, man. I was really bothered by that particular bit of footage there. And I just want to say, like, sometimes we really got to watch out what we allow for ourselves to be subjected to. In a world where everybody wants to pull out a camera and show us everything, not everything needs to be clicked on. Some stuff will really cause trouble for your brain when you watch too much of it. Some stuff will show up in your dreams. Some stuff will have you thinking that you don't want to leave the house, you know what I mean? Some stuff will have you thinking the world is hopeless and all these different things that we have plenty of without the presence of certain things that'll give us that notion. So yeah, man, it's just, and two, man, trust your instincts, as I always say. Having that relationship with the big guy upstairs may help you in these type of situations and lead you away from circumstances that lead to these type of situations. I'm not saying I know what her relationship was with God or what his intentions were. Obviously she's no longer with us, but it's one of them situations where it's just like, man, this is why I think having a relationship with God is so important, so that we can create from within that relationship some instincts that tell us where to go, where not to go, lean us into an understanding how we could be support to whomever we need to be in the moment we're in, and so that when it's over with, we will have done everything that we should, whatever that looks like. And I may have mentioned this in my last video, I think I did, but a lot of times when we're chasing so much attention, so much applause, it can dim out that voice in our hearts that tells us which way to go, that conscience, so to speak, that'll lead us down the right path. It can kind of drown out that voice when we're trying so hard to get the attention from the world around us. And so this is my point of view. I want people to understand that your relationship with God is so important because of that, amongst other things that I don't know really nothing about, but will be relatable in your life when that relationship is intact. And I'm a firm believer that God can be found in many directions as it pertains to religions and different practices and stuff like that. I don't think that my religion is the only religion or whatever. I don't believe that. I've known great people in all religions that I've known of, to be honest with you. And some great people that didn't believe in nothing at all, for which it ain't my place to tell them what's right or wrong. I can just tell them what I know, what I've learned, and hope that it can help them in their journey. You know, people have their own walk of life. There are a lot of good people who are good inherently. What they believe today may not be what they believe tomorrow. What they know today may not be what they know tomorrow. Sometimes when you sense good things about people who don't know what you know, it doesn't mean that they won't be masters of what it is you've learned tomorrow. That's also something I've learned as well, seeing people change in life, go from atheists to preachers. I've seen, like, you never know what people are gonna know tomorrow, man. And so that's what I'm here to tell you. That's why it's so important that we value life, no matter what our ideology is, what our raising would have taught us. There's a lot of times we're taught to cut down our numbers because of the differences in people, when the solutions that you may need may be found in those same people that you discard of. A lot of things don't teach us that. They don't teach us that.
His children, we're all his sons and daughters.
Exactly that.
If nobody's told you that now, I want you to know that.
Exactly that, man. And that coincides with what we're saying, man. Just because you're from a different path of life or a different ideology or understanding does not mean that you can't contribute something to the world that someone from a different path needs very much. Something that may give birth to the greatest idea in their hearts may come from your mind. You know what I mean? That's why I don't believe in separating at all, because I think a lot of what our solutions are found in the sharing of understanding and culture. I believe that deeply because I've seen it in my own life growing up in a melting pot like Los Angeles, surrounded by people who didn't look like me, but I couldn't tell the difference because I was too young to know. That's a healthy environment for children, to grow up in a space where people are different than them, because it helps them understand that they can coincide and live with people that are nothing like them. And they may need to in this world. And so that's what I want to share with you guys, man. I was very sorry to see what I saw in that situation. And a young lady lost her life, 23 years old. She might have been of a different race than me, but it didn't make me feel any less happy for her success or any less sad for her failure, because I was raised around people that were from where she's from. My humanity's pointed in all types of different directions. I can still love myself and my people for sure, but that don't mean I gotta discard everybody else. But think that we the only ones worth saving when it really come down to it. I think those type of ideologies fail everybody, including the people who would agree with it. People who practice that, man. You can see it now in this world. People agree that other people should be discarded of, only to see themselves being protested against, only to find out that people don't agree with it. No, people don't agree with it because we've been proven it doesn't necessarily align with what's real out here. People get along no matter what. I don't have to believe I'm better than you in order for me to be confident in your presence, as we talked about yesterday. It's just not, that's a mindset that doesn't need to be harbored anymore. Creating enemies and people that want to further divide away from the greatness that you provide. It's not indicative of what you want your kids to believe when it's time for them to go out into the world and make a way for themselves. You want them to be able to survive no matter where they're at. You may not be able to cover them with your ideologies. They may have to be amongst people that don't think like that, who don't agree with that, and still find a way to get a meal and a way to lay their head down. How can they survive in those circumstances if they adapt to that for which separates them from other people? These are the type of things we don't think about when we pass people things that were passed to us that don't align with that. Only us. We need to only work with us. You ain't gonna be in a world where it's only you. There's gonna be a lot of people around with a lot of different thoughts, a lot of different faiths, and you're gonna have to make yourself useful in their spaces in order to get a meal and to lay your head down. Then what? A lot of us don't think that's going to happen, or we think we can protect against that, but the unknown is possible. We just had a pandemic a couple years back. You don't think the unknown is possible? The unprecedented is possible? You may need to rely upon the same people you care nothing about, only to get turned on by the same people that you align with. It doesn't work, man. I'm telling you, it doesn't work. And sometimes we need to burn our hands, just know that something's hot and not to touch it. But sometimes, you can just look at certain other people learning that lesson and learn that that's what is there to see. So that's what I want to say. None of this is new. You've heard me say all of this. A lot of this stuff is regurgitated thoughts, and I'm asking the Lord for new wisdom from which to share. But I think putting the same wisdom in a different video can help too. Because at the end of the day, we're seeing so many people make these same mistakes. There needs to be enough of these seeds to deter that thinking in place for them to have it in their head so they can do different things and be better than that. And so that's why I don't mind giving y'all the same seeds over and over again at times, though it may be a little repetitive. A lot of y'all may say, yeah, you get it. But maybe this is the first video someone else has seen. And so patience is also important in regards to what it is I'm learning. We talk about so many different things. Patience is something I don't think I've talked as much about as maybe some of these other concepts. But letting God work the timing of things out in your life. You may have found the right person, but it may not be the right time. You may feel like this is the right place, but maybe it ain't coming in the day that you feel that feeling. I harken back to the experience I had when I first got my apartment that I left before finding myself in the situation I'm in now. Well, when I got to that apartment, I truly and genuinely felt like I was home. I was home. I could feel that this was going to be where I was going to be. I could feel like this was my favorite apartment that I had found. I had, done a lot of searching like you do when you look for a place. And I found myself in a spot. And I'm like, when I walked in there, I looked at the walls, I'm like, yeah, this is comfortable. This is where I feel like I'm going to live. Like, it was a vibe that came from knowing where I belong. And when I left there, I was so certain I was going to get the apartment. And they called me back a few days later and told me I didn't get the apartment. And I was so shocked because I was like, this feels right. This feels like, when I got there, I felt that spiritual hugging feeling like, this is where you're going to be. And they told me, nah. Somebody else they had chosen someone else to receive that apartment. So it was certain at that moment it wasn't for me. So I'm like, man, I don't know if I trust this feeling no more. Anytime I feel this feeling, they must be lying to me. Only for me 3 months later, through some unbelievable at the buzzer like circumstances for which we've talked about, me looking my email address the morning when I'm about to be kicked out of my grandmother's condo, only to find myself likely living in my car until I found a way. Looked at the email and saw that they said that the person that they had given that apartment to had reneged on it, and they wanted to offer it to me that day. That feeling wasn't lying to me. It was exactly the place I was going to find myself for the next 9 years and go through some of the most important times in my entire life in that apartment. Just like I felt I would when I felt that feeling when I first walked in there. I felt it was mine. It was going to be mine. But it was going to be 3 months of me understanding it wasn't mine before actually receiving it. That's what I want y'all to understand. Is sometimes it ain't the right time. But that feeling that tells you something is yours, it may be. You just may need to be patient and wait for it to align so that you can receive it. You may have found the right person, but it may be a long time before that person is actually ready to be who you need them to be. And if you try to rush into that situation, though they're the right person, you're going to mess up the timeline and it ain't going to work out. You may set yourself up for a lifetime of failure because it's just the simple fact that they didn't get a chance to grow into the person they needed to be in order to be devoted to you properly. That's something I struggle with even today. Allowing the Lord the time to work things out so that what's right for me can be aligned with me on His watch, not mine. This is the right thing for me, yeah, but it's not the right time. But I don't have the patience, nor do I feel like I have enough time to wait. Well, the Lord is telling you it's going to be yours, so you got to wait. And you do have the time because it's the one who created time telling you it's yours. And that you got the time because you're going to wait that time. And then you're going to spend some time with it because it's going to be yours. But these are the type of things that we have to just trust. It's hard to trust that because we think we understand. We look at a watch, it tells us what time it is. You know how much time you have left, but you don't. Unprecedented things like a pandemic can come or a genocide can come and change your whole outlook on life, change your whole reality, change your whole surroundings. God forbid, of course, but this is just an example of things that can do to alter life entirely for your surroundings. And then what you think you were looking at ain't the same thing you're looking at no more. Anything you think you need, suddenly you don't need it anymore. Stuff you think you were working toward, now that's not even possible anymore. I know this doesn't necessarily coincide with the end of this young lady's life that started my video, but I wish I could have met her a year ago and told her, hey, this is what you need to avoid. Or you have this much time left, so please utilize your time in a way that you could be most pleased with. You know what I'm saying? But those things, hindsight is 20/20, but foresight is blind. So we just got to kind of anticipate that we don't got a lot of time, even if we think we do. Even if we're fully healthy, even if we got a million things on the schedule lined up, the only thing that's truly meant to be is what he has set up for you, not necessarily what you see on that schedule. And you trust that gut telling you not to go to that place, you're going to have a lot more opportunities instead of getting cut down when you go that route. A lot of us think we're going to follow schedule. The Lord told us not to go. You don't want to go that day. Don't trust that voice? That be it. Do trust that voice? You avoid all that catastrophe. And that's where that relationship come in. That's what I talk to y'all about. Is having that relationship. So that you can hear that voice. So you can avoid some of that noise that keeps you from hearing it. So that you can go down that path that he wants you to go down and receive what it is he wants you to receive. Energy that's meant for you, that's going to uplift your life instead of end it. Like the world wants you to do. The world would love for us to end our lives doing something stupid. God wants us to continue to live. Let's give ourselves an opportunity out here. But if we don't listen to him, he can't guide us. If we can't hear that voice, we ain't going to be able to follow it. And so that's what I'm here to share with y'all, man. I hope that from within the trauma of watching that footage, we found ourselves in a space where we can consider how much time we may or may not have left. And do the things necessary to anticipate the importance of cherishing the moments we have. And of utilizing our time with a certain level of passion and urgency. So we don't know what we have left. You don't know how much time you got on that clock. You don't know what God got planned for you or what he's doing. And ain't nobody coming from the future to tell you exactly how much time you have. So you better understand that part when it's time to make moves ahead of time. So that's what I want to share with y'all, man. Be patient just the same. There's a balance to have in all of these conversations we're talking about. There's a balance to wait when the Lord tell you to wait. And the balance to have urgency, assuming you don't have all this time to wait. Video 44, I thank y'all for watching.